I can use it. All right, we're going to get things started. It looks like we're first of all, let me just apologize for not having somebody over at the village hall. We only had 3 staff members tonight who were able to help. Everybody was over here and we couldn't have somebody over there also. So I'm sorry for that. But welcome to a community forum. This is probably about maybe the 10th one of the years. First one we've done this year, and obviously everybody got a flyer in the mail. I've seen some all around, so happy to have you all here. Hopefully some of you saw the YouTube video that we posted inviting everybody as well. Wanted to try and have a forum where we can have a little bit of a discussion regarding the issue in general. We know this has been an issue for some time now and a lot of discussion surrounding it, so wanted to give you some time to talk. What we're going to do to start with is everybody, of course, got their name tag and a table that they're assigned to. Why don't we just start for 5 minutes, please. Introduce yourselves to the people at your table and just tell them just a little brief thing about yourself, just to get to know each other just a little bit. Looks like some of you might know each other already. We only have 7 staff members total, so with limited staff, we have some that have to go over there. So what I'd like to do, we have about just under an hour. I don't want to take up a ton of your time. I know everybody's time is precious, but I do want to give you an opportunity also to try and ask some questions and answer some of those questions. So what I'd like to do is have at every table, talk amongst yourselves. Come up with 2 or 3 of your most important questions that you'd like to ask. And what I'll try to do is just go table to table to try and get as many as we can within an hour. Okay? Let me start off by saying, you know, this issue is something that's been on the table really for as long as I've been here. And I've been here for almost 4 years now. I haven't been. I'm sorry. I didn't introduce myself. I had you all introduce yourselves to each other. I'm Josh Schoemann. I'm the village administrator here in the village of Richfield. As I just said, I've been here for just under 4 years. Prior to being in the village of Richfield, I was in Green Lake County. You're familiar with that area up by Ripon, in the city of Princeton. So getting back to what I was saying, I have been receiving phone calls about this for as long as I've been here, and have been answering questions and emails and different things for that long as well. So I'm absolutely willing and able to stay and talk as long as you'd like. If your questions aren't answered tonight, please feel free to call again or stop by at any point in time. Shoot me an email, whatever you'd like. We're also in the coming weeks having, it's October 29th, I believe. It's not really related to sewer and water, as you'll probably hear about after a while. But our overall comprehensive plan, which is the planning document we use to decide which types of uses, zoning uses are throughout the village. That discussion, community-wide, will happen on the 29th at the Chalet, which is on Highway 175. Really, the discussion, that particular discussion is going to be very, very specific. We all, I think everybody here agrees, I know the village board agrees, everything basically southwest of the Highway 175 corridor is all planned to be, essentially all planned to be residential. Rural residential, similar to all the subdivisions you see around now. The only area in question is really east of 175, with a few exceptions. And that area currently has a couple of different plans attributed to it. Some commercial, some industrial, some more condensed residential. So that meeting on the 29th will be an opportunity to have a discussion about that, which, as I said, doesn't directly relate to sewer and water necessarily, but certainly has implications regarding that. So with that, if you will just take a few minutes, once you have a number of questions listed as a group, I'll just ask that each table have one representative, and as I go around, that person just indicate the question, and I'll try to get through them as fast as I can, answer as thoroughly as possible. So why don't you take the next, before we do that, does anybody have any specific questions about the process, or, yes?
Whose camera is this?
Mike Watson.
Mike, why are you taking this?
So we have a record for ourselves and for everybody else. This is a public meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the process, or anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Sorry, copy.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna try not to use this because I know church is gonna be going here shortly, so is anybody having a problem hearing me? All right. What I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna literally start on this side of the room and just work our way back and forth, okay? So if you guys wanna start with your first question, you can't speak loud enough, I'll give you this.
No, okay.
Okay.
Everybody hear me?
Yep.
Well, so my question relates to the public works ordinance, and so I'd like to use this first one here as because I think it's a good point. I guess I'm interested, do you support the people's demand to have the right, through a referendum, to vote on public works projects in sewer and water east of 175 on that?
Well, let me answer it this way. I don't vote on anything other than it's the same as you all do. I'm not an elected official. So quite frankly, it doesn't matter what I think. But what I can tell you, let me give you a little background on that. As I indicated in the beginning, this will probably be hopefully the longest answer I have. As I indicated from the beginning, this has been an issue that's been ongoing for 3.5, 4 years, okay? And the long answer is, 3.5 years ago, the flyers that you got this past week were coming out then, for those of you who lived here at that time, right? All sewer and water is coming, it's coming to everybody, everybody's gonna get it. So, the solution that I had suggested to the village board at that time was to adopt an ordinance that says, no, sewer and water is not coming to everybody. Sewer and water is not even an issue we want to talk about. It's not an issue. So I suggested that we create an ordinance that gives a referendum to everybody in the rural residential part of the community. Okay? So everything west of 175, and I just used it.
Why divide the communities up?
I just used it as a delineator. Can I finish this?
Okay, sorry.
I just used it as a delineator, and the reason is, right now, our current zoning map and future land use map that you, and if you weren't here, the people who were here in 2004 made, has all business and compact residential along the east side of 175, okay? On top of that, the hydrogeology in that part of town, how many of you are familiar with our groundwater ordinance? Okay, a super minority. We have a groundwater ordinance. Now this is going to get really long. Let me just get to the point.
Let's answer the question, okay?
The question is, why do we have a referendum?
You're beating around the bush.
No.
If there is a referendum, then how come the people cannot vote on it?
I'm just asking, I myself personally want the ability to vote on projects east of 175. And I'm just asking, would you support it?
Again, my opinion doesn't make any difference. I'm
Well,
just
you're
assuming.
I mean,
Then what are you doing here? We're elected officials.
The elected officials are the ones who make the decision. The difference is, all I do is recommend, okay? So the answer to your question,
what would you recommend it for?
it would depend. That's the entire reason that the ordinance was created. West of 175, there's nothing to depend on, right? Nobody at all, anywhere, wants sewer and water west of 175, here at the end.
I don't think that's something that I want to do.
Wants it east of 175.
Answer the question.
Who east of 175 wants
Can I
it?
just finish the answer?
Can I put up one question for a hand count? How many people here want sewer and water? Put up your hands.
So,
I'm not seeing it. Answer the question for the majority.
Can we finish the question, please? Thank you. So the answer to the question is, it depends on the proposal. What am I going to give a recommendation on? Oh, it might
So
go.
it depends on we have a vote or we don't have a vote.
No. All I'm saying, no. What I'm saying is sewer and water coming to east of 175? I can't answer because there's no proposal on it.
Why can't we vote on it though? Whether it does or it doesn't, why can't we say yes or no?
So we get a project, okay? Let's use an example. We get a project, and it's $500 million facility, okay? it brings our tax levy as a community down by 25%. In the past, Cabela's, Reflections Village, other developments, Endeavor Business Park, we've had developers come in and say, we need to have sewer and water in order to build here. Okay? This is the process we've used in the past. Maybe this answers your question. They've come and said that to the village board. The village board has listened to exactly what their proposal was. We've had public hearings, we've had public forums, and at the end of them, they said, no, it doesn't make any sense. So I guess the very bottom line answer to your question is, it's about representative democracy. That's what it's about.
That's all it is. Representative democracy is.
No, the difference between what you're talking about and what I'm talking about is you're asking to have 11,500 people, 100 of whom are here. 100 of whom are here. That's 1/10% are here.
How many board members are here tonight?
None.
Why is that?
Board members, raise your hands.
I said none.
Stand up.
I said 0. Because this
Because
was
what?
intended to be an informational session.
They have information, you are not coming clean with this whole thing, okay? Did you tell us how much do they pay you to be an administrator?
$92,000 a year.
That's a joke.
Thank you.
Cabela's.
Yes.
How many millions did Richfield give them to be where they are?
0. None. You're wrong.
And water and sewer?
Proposed water and sewer.
Do they have it?
Did they
No.
Reflection Village?
No, they did want water and sewer.
They have no sewage commission.
What about Reflection Village?
Reflections Village wanted water and sewer.
And they
do
have
not
no-
have municipal water and sewer.
They all have septic?
They have a communal septic
They had to put in their
and
own
a
septic.
and a
Their
communal
own
water
process,
system.
but it's a community.
It's theirs.
It's a
Just one second, to be due. I'll answer him and then I'll come over here. And then we're gonna try to stay at the table. Okay?
What happens with our Reflections Village after these houses?
It becomes theirs. There's a water trust. They own it. It's their own utility.
That's the east side, though.
Hands free.
What happens if it fails? What if their systems fail? Where do they go from there? Who pays for that? How does that happen?
If the bank obviously would get the property and it becomes the trust's problem. Okay?
It's septic system.
Oh, if they literally fail. The trust is still, they're putting money into the trust as homes come in to address that issue. Now, whether or not they fund it, if they don't have money to pay for it,
So then I kind of record the tax rate.
no. That, you're assuming that stuff. It doesn't necessarily.
It does.
No, it does not.
I came from Waukesha County, Pewaukee, 10 years ago, the same exact thing happened.
They
It
have,
got voted down the first time, I put my house on the market the next day, sold it, and within 2 years, everyone in that subdivision and 2 other subdivisions were ramrodded to the tune of $42,000 to cover what 3 developers wanted to do with their property. So that's what's gonna happen here.
so is your question answered?
No. If I asked you to give me the right to have a referendum, would you support it?
I don't vote on it, but my recommendation would be,
Would you go to?
my recommendation would be no.
So you would not give me the right to vote?
No.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. And then you gave your reasons.
We have an ordinance.
Well, I know that ordinance, but we can change.
I mean, obviously, I made that recommendation already.
But not obviously, you didn't tell us that.
I made the recommendation.
You said you don't vote any.
You asked about the recommendation. I made it to the board. There's a lot of
You said you don't make recommendations. You sent it away, and you said, I think I'm done. That's exactly what you said.
All right, I have my answer. You won't give me the right to vote. I know, now I know.
I guess our question was, if 3 out of 5 board members make a quorum, how and why would they implement sewer and water? Or how could they, according to this handout?
I haven't seen the handout, so I don't know.
Yes, you did.
No,
You took it out of my hand.
I have a handout, but it doesn't mean I get to see it. I like to keep all the materials that you give out, propaganda you
So
give
with
out.
this video that you're taking, we're allowed, this is public information, correct?
Publication, which I mean,
$92,000 we're being scammed. So I think you should go back to Green Lake.
thank you.
Sir.
Service. I'm sorry, what was your question? I don't understand the question. Could you ask me again, please?
3 board members make a quorum out of 5.
Yes.
And they can make or implement sewer and water. Why? Or make decisions like that.
3. He said three board members make a quorum. If 3 board members show up to a meeting, they can make the decision themselves. I suppose that is a possibility. If you, in any committee, if you have 3 people out of 5 show up, you have the ability to have a meeting, right? So if they showed up and had that vote, I guess they could do that. It's not probable, I guess, but I suppose it could happen.
If all 5 board members are there, 3 can make this decision. Any 3, in this board or a future board.
Sure.
3 people.
You're saying all that has to happen.
To get municipal sewer and water in this community.
You're saying all that has to happen is to have a majority vote.
Yes, sir.
Next question.
So the only recourse is to re-elect new people.
Recall.
Recall them all, yeah.
Recall all politicians and civil administrators.
Good. And fire administration? Absolutely. Thank you. No, the question from this table was, what is the purpose of sewer and water? Is anybody complaining? Well, there's no proposal, so right now there isn't any purpose and no discussion about it. But why? To answer the question about why he's the 175, the question is, the answer is, there's 2 things. One, if you are familiar with our groundwater ordinance and our groundwater study, which we've been doing for, I think, over 10 years now, we analyze what's happening below the ground so that we can protect all of the municipal wells throughout the village. I believe there's something like 55 different wells that are monitored throughout all of Richfield. And we're watching what's happening with the groundwater throughout droughts and everything, okay? East of 175, we know that the conditions for the soil over there are not ideal for the traditional septic systems that you have everywhere else in the village. All the soil to the west, primarily all the soil to the west, is glaciated, right? Very rocky, easy for the septic systems to work. East of 175, that's not necessarily the case. Our hydrogeologist, Doug Turkauer from UW-Milwaukee, has indicated to us that if development happens over there, we have to be extra conscientious about what we do so as to not taint the groundwater, which provides all the water for everybody west of 175. So that's the other part of the answer to your question.
So you're trying to say that little part of the aquifer is going to affect the whole...
Oh, 100%. What happens when gasoline gets in the water?
It's the minute quantities of gasoline that are going to spread throughout
3 miles in Jackson. 3 miles. A radius of 3 miles. That's
how many
that's
thousands of gallons? What? How many thousands?
hundreds of thousands.
Gallons.
Right. So they're running.
So you're saying something east of 175 is going to spread throughout the village and still contaminate our roads?
The break that happened in the town of Jackson affected us.
Is there a major gas line?
No, not in that area. But I'm just using it as an example. You asked if it could get tainted, sir.
So what could possibly be there that would contaminate our aquifer?
Any number of things.
What? Please.
Arsenic. Radium. There's arsenic in every drop of water in the state of Wisconsin. I am. I talked to him quite frequently.
You need to educate yourself.
I'll come back again. Next, can I ask you next table?
The last citizen survey showed that the citizens wanted the village of Richfield. If the last citizen survey showed that the citizens wanted the village of Richfield to maintain a, quote, rural atmosphere, unquote, why would we treat one part of us differently?
Good question, thank you. The concern, the idea with everything along the 41 corridor, and the 175 corridor, if you want to call it that, why would we treat that differently? There's another concern that answers the question related to our tax levy and our mill rate overall. All of our homes that as we build out, and this is where a comprehensive plan gets important, right? And it'll tail off a question that was asked here about farm. Why don't we just leave it farmland? If we develop everything in the village of Richfield residentially, every single farm field that's sold becomes a residential development.
As what size? Compressed?
No, hopefully not. Come to the comprehensive plan and help us change that.
I'll be there.
Thank you. No, but even at a 3-acre density, we can't keep
How
up.
about 5 acre? That's 5 acres supposed to be the state. That's what our village was founded on, 5 acres.
Our town was founded on. Our village was founded on 3 cluster development, acre and a half with another acre and a half off to the side.
That's why we incorporated.
Yeah, back from the 60s. I understand. So to try and answer your question succinctly, there's an equal concern that as the residential development continues to grow, there's no leverage down on the tax levy at all. All of your taxes are just going to continue to rise because the way that it works is the village collects, and I know you know this, but I know not everybody else knows this. The number of dollars the village collects in taxes every year is the numerator. The denominator is the total value of all properties in the village. If you don't inflate that denominator large enough, your mill rate at the end continues to increase, right?
That's assuming that the population is staying stable. However, if you increase the compressed areas, you have a greater amount of people, thus a greater need of mill, thus a greater need of money. However, if you keep it stable and not have the compressed areas, you will not have that greater need.
That's not entirely true.
No, it is true.
No,
because that
no, it
also, if you look at the economic studies and remove the commercial portion of that, you will see a residential staying at a consistent level will remain the same. If you add that commercial in that is required for that, then yes, you're right, it will raise. We're talking residential only here.
Right.
And if you have a consistent amount, you will not need that increased amount.
That's true, but that assumes that nobody else is coming to the village of Richfield.
No, that is with the general increase.
No. Our population projection, and this isn't us, this is census information,
Survey.
they project the village of Richfield in 20 years to be at 20,000 people. That's development like we see across the street. Okay?
But not commercial.
But not commercial. Right, absolutely. It's just a population projection. So if we go from 11,500 people to 20,000 people, we have that many more homes, that many more roads, that much more to plow, right?
Not necessarily true in a
Well,
great deal.
how-
You've got,
You do, but the problem is that for every home that you have, so for example, we have about 400 empty lots right now. If we built a $300,000 home on every single one of those lots, and I use 300 because it's generally the average house value in the village of Richfield. We built a $300,000, the median. We built a $300,000 home on every lot, we'd still be at almost $500,000 behind on what we should be paying to keep up with just the roads system. So that's the problem. Residential development doesn't provide enough mill rate revenue if the population continues to incline, right, so.
But that's assuming that your lots are getting smaller also.
No.
The same pattern that you've been in. Because that's how sewer pack goes.
No.
They've noticed patterns of development, and that pattern of development will be extended.
Our population projection is based on 1.5 acre lots with 1.5 acre.
Wait, what happened to 3 acres? Wait, what happened to 5 acres?
1.5 plus 1.5. There's an 1.5 lot right across the way here.
What happened
with
to 3
another
acres?
1.5
But we're talking
reserved on that.
we're talking new areas.
Correct.
Could we come back to sewer and water, which is why we're here tonight?
You-
This
I'm
is
sorry.
this is absolutely part of the
That's
discussion.
the
I know
driving
it doesn't
issue
fit the
right there.
narrative, but that's
It's the money.
definitely part of it. It is. It's the
And
money.
you need to recognize the fact that if you can keep that dollar amount.
No,
Residential is not going to support what you guys want.
That's
We
not-
want to get commercial in here. And the only way to do that is to get a sewer and water.
Bingo.
The question we're here for, and it comes right back to it.
Can I just correct you once, please? And then I'll let you finish your question. You said, we want to have commercial industrial building in Richfield, right? You, in 2004, and whether you were there or not, had put that into your comprehensive plan. That's what's along
How many
175.
people voted for that?
Did I also show
Let me go back to my initial,
There was more than are here tonight.
let me go back to my initial question. In the last citizen survey, people wanted rural. They didn't want mini shops, they didn't want mini strip malls.
That's true.
They didn't want industrial, they wanted rural area. Now, rural means nothing with industrial, nothing with commercial.
Correct.
So you have to remove that total part with the equation.
I'll get over to you.
You have to remove that total part.
No,
And all your basic formulas include that automatically in.
So the theme of his questions is October 29th, 7 o'clock, be there, because that's the
At
that
Chalet.
discussion held. At the
Exactly.
Chalet, 175,
Exactly.
Highway 175 at the Chalet. This table.
I have a two-part question. The first one is, assuming that we have some industry that wants to come in east of 175. The question we have is, what's the process that industry has to take?
What's the process
What's
that
the
they would have
process
to
the
take?
industry has to take to get approval of sewer and water? And if that should happen, what is the result of the tax base for the people west of 175? Thank you.
Just make sure I said the right thing. Comprehensive plan meeting, October 29th, that's 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Chalet. Okay. If an industry or commercial or whatever it is came and decided that they wanted to buy the farm fields that are along 41 right now and build here, the first thing that they would do is come to staff with a proposal, okay? Staff would then work with them on the proposal to try to get it to a point where we thought the board would be prepared to hear it, the plan commission would be prepared to hear it. Then it would go to the plan commission, and the plan commission would likely do one of two things. Either first, hear them out and say, no, go back and come back to us later. And then second, or initially, have a public hearing on that proposal, okay? So the process is designed to have this happen whenever a proposal comes, okay? So then the second part of your question. What happens west of 175 if sewer and water comes? Is that correct?
Assuming that industry needed sewer and water,
Okay.
then
What happens west of 175?
as a result of that.
And honest to God, the answer to that question is I don't know. And here's why. Because there's multiple things that could happen. Okay? There's sanitary districts are one thing. There are many places throughout the state that have sanitary districts. As a matter of fact, different lakes here had talked about doing the same thing years ago. Another is traditionally municipal sewer and water that's similar to how Franklin, which I saw referenced in other things, did things. So I can't answer the question without having the proposal and knowing what their proposal is. But I can tell you that the board's position, this particular board's position is that if it would have any impact, cost related to people west of 175, they wouldn't even consider it. Quite frankly, I can't think of a proposal without it being massive that they would consider without significant, and I mean significant, this wouldn't be enough public input. I mean, they would have multiple forums of hearings. That's how they've functioned in the past. I don't know why they would do it
It's
differently.
not decision-making power. I can talk all day long, but if in the end I don't vote, it's the power.
I was just gonna ask the same question. I mean, what input does the
I said I would
village,
get you when we come to your table.
what input do the citizens have, us sitting here? We can talk till we're blue in the face, and you turn around and say, well, we don't care what they said.
You know, democracy should start here.
So,
Here. No, I agree.
It's not.
No, you're right, democracy should start here. And the way that our government is set up is a representative democracy. That doesn't mean that you can vote on every issue. It
So
means
this
that
little
you're
tiny handful of people don't even have a say.
It is your money,
That's right.
100%.
What we're asking as a group here is for you to go back to the elected officials and put it before them that you have a number, or there's a number of their constituents that, yes, we weren't all represented. You say this is not a big enough number.
No, I didn't. No, I'm not saying that.
That it needs to go back to them, that these people are concerned, and there was absolutely not a single hand raised in here about wanting sewer and water. How come it can't go as a referendum? That's a simple question. Why can't it happen?
Sure. The simple answer is, when a development of that size comes, two things are going to happen. One, the details of the discussion of what that proposal is all confidential information proprietary to that company. Okay? So if a development comes in, that's part of the problem of having a referendum. And it's entirely why the founding fathers created representative democracy.
All we're looking to do is to see that they cannot have a majority, they can't have a majority vote on putting sewer and water in. All we're looking to do is have this ordinance set that it ends up, you can't just bring in some big company and say, oh, okay, we're gonna put sewer and water in, because we want that mill rate.
Right. No, I understand, and you're right, and that's exactly to this gentleman's question, that's exactly why the process entails public hearings and public input, but you're 100% correct. I'm absolutely going to go back to the village board. Can I please just finish once? I'm absolutely going to go back to the village board and tell them exactly what you just said. We had 100 people come to the meeting, every one of them said they don't want to hear about sewer and water. Every one of them didn't raise their hand when they were asked about it. Yeah.
Past precedence is a huge amount of development.
Yes.
When the developer comes in and you say no,
Yes.
because the citizens say no, but when you've got sewer and water in part of your community, that's past precedence. So thus, past precedence becomes a court leg for them to develop into it and expand also, is it not?
Why is it assumed that because 3 out of 5 board members would like to have a different mill rate, that it should be on the backs of us who don't want to pay for it? So that a company who wants to build a $5 million hospital gets their sewer and water for nothing, so they can make money.
I can tell you.
No, we're going to pay for it. They're
We're
asking you for
paying
nothing.
for it, and they're making the money.
I can tell you, first of all, if there's 3 board members who want a mill rate change, it's because they want a lower mill rate. At least with this board, and everybody in this room, I would suspect. Okay? So it's all about having lower taxes, right? So, second of all, you're talking about a hospital, okay? I've been here for 3.5 years. I've never talked to a hospital. I hear about it all the time. I've never talked to any representatives. I've never even, I just haven't. If they were going to come, the process that I described for this gentleman back here would have to happen. It would have to come to the staff first, and then it would have to go to the planning commission, and then it would have to go to the village board, and you would have to have a public hearing. That's not happening. There's not even consideration.
Josh, would you like to hear from someone in favor of sewer?
Why didn't any of our board members come tonight?
Exactly.
Knowing
Because-
that this is so important.
You got Jay Karen, why important?
They don't want to hear.
The answer is because I wanted to have a discussion about it, and when politicians are in the room, there is no discussion.
But just for them to listen.
No, they will. Mike does a great job of taping every meeting. Everybody will absolutely know, and they do know that there's a concern. obviously, there's been elections year after year for the last 4 years, and all one side runs on is this issue. They're fully aware that there are people in the village who feel exactly like all of you who are sitting here. They absolutely understand. That's not true.
My first question is just a quick yes and no, but then I got a bigger question here. You want that? I actually live in the town of Lisbon, but I've been dragged into Richfield on other circumstances, so that's why I'm here. But Lisbon adopted a sewer highway referendum, or a sewer water a couple of years ago. I had no sewer and water within 7 miles of my house, and I have sewer and water on my taxes. Can you tell everybody in this room who lives west of 175, yes or no, that their taxes would not go up if you put sewer and water east of 175?
I can't say yes or no.
Any question back?
In your existing projects,
I just want to make a comment on it. The shopping center is down on the corner of 175 in your Buddhism. You would ever realize how much taxes come out of that corner down there? Thousands and thousands of dollars. Nothing the village has to do. Plow, no snow, no road maintenance, no garbage pickup, no sewer, no water. Not a thing happens. And it's all tax-paid money. Just think about it. You've got to have it in the
All
village.
right. Can I have a question, please?
What about when you get to Cabela's? How much did we put into Cabela's for all the road work out there? Every bit of it was not a cent of
The village didn't
Who
pay.
plows all those roads
No,
up
wait,
there?
we plow them, but they
Yeah.
pay taxes too. They pay a lot of
A
taxes.
lot of things, yes.
They do. You can look up their tax bill, they pay a lot of taxes.
in the existing ordinance that you have right now, how much money are you able to spend without input of citizens? Is there a certain dollar amount that you spend in the existing ordinance as it exists today? Is there a certain amount of money that you can spend or can spend before they have to come and ask for a referendum?
Yes, capital improvement project, somebody in here knows that, I don't know.
4.7 million.
4.7 million.
Now, is that for the whole thing, or if the company that wants to come in wants to put a $12 million toward the sewer system, and we only have to put 4, so a referendum would not be needed then, right? Our portion of
I don't think so.
of the public works project would only be $4 million. But
So
the other
you're implying that then, that it's village owned, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying,
No,
because you
you
could
can-
have Germantown come in.
Why would
with
the
their
village
sewage
spend that money,
district,
why would
right?
the village spend money on something that's not theirs?
Huh?
That doesn't-
No, they wouldn't have to spend a dime if they had a Germantown sewage district to come in and supply sewage to that.
Exactly.
Just like in Lisbon, where Menominee Falls Sewage District is coming in.
Why would we pay for something that
We
we're not getting?
wouldn't be paying for that, but
Well, then what
the
is
people
that?
would be paying, because all of a sudden, you have in here too, unless it conflicts with state law, but that means that somebody on the west side of 175, because sewer is now there, is gonna have to hook up. And now you're gonna just kind of with state law get all this stuff in there. You know, people are not gonna get their way.
Yeah, we got a couple. It has to do with this, basically, why did the Richfield Village Board take away the people's right to vote on this side of the public works sewer and water projects? Why did it happen, for one? That's the first question. Two, why did it happen, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, during the 4th of July weekend?
Sure.
2012.
No, you did sort of answer one of them a little bit. Could you tell me really what a commercial interest coming in really be that much more turned off by their plans being contingent on a referendum as compared to their plans being contingent upon a bunch of public meetings and then town boards?
Well, I guess, I'm not a business owner, so I can't answer, but I think the relevant answer would be, are businesses afraid of the unknown? Yeah, of course. And you should be, absolutely. So I think the obvious answer is, at least they can talk to
Are you saying
somebody.
they would want to get sewer in before a business would come?
No.
Okay, because unless you have a sewer in place, then it's unknown, whether it's
No,
town board or
but
whether
when
it's-
they have a board to talk to in a formal hearing and public discussion, that's one thing. When you're trying to reach 11,500, or at that point, who knows how many people? How do you do it? Do they mail a flyer to every person and say it's a big 60 slice bread?
No, but
Flyers and
you're giving the impression that the board doesn't do anything without reaching all the people without the.
No, the board, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that the board would, I'm saying that, why wouldn't the company? Why wouldn't the company lobby the community for it?
Oh, yeah, it's very possible.
I agree.
They have a right to do that.
I suppose, we complain about businesses lobbying us.
Yeah, so why did that happen? Why did they vote to have the right to make that decision themselves about?
It was the week of, it wasn't the weekend of July 4th.
July 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
It was July 5th. I guess it was July 5th.
So, two questions. Why was that decision made? That's the first one. Two, why the timing of it?
The decision was made because the concern at the time was everybody was being told that sewer and water is coming, and it's coming very quickly. And the village board wanted to do something to address that and say, we would never even think about it anywhere west of 175. And so that's why the ordinance was put into place.
So just so I understand what you're saying, so the ordinance was to ensure people, the village, that there would be no sewer and water west of 175.
Right. And the intent, let me just say, the intent would be, their intent was to say that it wasn't going to be, nobody would be charged anything either. So that, to your point earlier about getting wherever you were at, and those people got charged, or maybe it was Lisbon, the intent was that won't happen. I mean,
Where I was along 164, it was to be to the east of 164 only. If you would check right now, it's on the east and the west of what used to be 164, which is now Highway F. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Yes, it got passed because it was on the east side. Boom. It affected everyone, not just the east side. People need to be brought up to speed as to what happens in these situations. And simply what I'm hearing here is if you want to put the board, a majority vote, wants to put can have the ability to put a sewer and water system in order to increase the tax revenue by letting large companies work. That's what I'm hearing here.
I don't think that's unfair.
One more. I guess, given your answer, I have another question then. Before that ordinance was passed, what was the situation with sewer and water were east of 175? Would that have required a referendum?
Great
or
question.
would it not?
Great question. Before that ordinance was in place,
Right.
the village board had the authority to make that decision anywhere in the village of Richfield. So your rights were not taken away, okay? You were actually given the ability to make the vote everywhere west of 175.
Not where it's going to have any impact.
Well, they don't want it to have any impact west of 175.
Yeah, but they want something to happen east of it, and they kept
That's
that.
not necessarily the case.
Well, why would you write that law, Josh?
But I'm just saying, it's not necessarily the case.
But if you know, why write an ordinance? If that's not the case, that's not logical.
No.
If you have no plans for development, why create that ordinance that gives you the power to put in development?
You do have plans for development. There's no doubt.
And we don't have a say on what kind of development.
You do.
How?
That's what I'm saying.
And what decision making? People show up and say, no, this plan is wrong. What decision making power do we have?
Your voice at that meeting changes the zoning as to what goes in that
Whose
area.
mind will we be changing?
The plan commission and the village board.
And we'll know that
Will
when.
be there though, in the
They
majority?
will be there at that time, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we better all talk to our neighbors.
That's right.
Absolutely, 100%, yes.
Better not just look like
I'm sorry, just ask one more question.
Yes.
Our other question was, if Richfield in the future, the village of Richfield does have sewer and water, would it be possible to connect it with other systems? And if so, which ones?
We all said we didn't want.
Yeah, can you just, what are the questions, please?
There have, as I indicated before, there have been proposals in the past, okay? Cabela's was one of them. They proposed bringing something in from a different community. Then they proposed doing something within our community. Another development came in, they proposed doing, for Fudge's Village, I believe, although I wasn't here at the time, but I believe they proposed bringing it in from another community, and then doing it in our community.
Which ones?
That seems like a counter.
Right.
Exactly. Let's say they would get something from Germantown. Down the road, Germantown decides to tie into Milwaukee. Then we end up stuck with Milwaukee as well as Luke.
That was the exact concern and the exact reason that they decided not to go.
Josh,
Yeah.
I have a letter from an unconcerned citizen.
An unconcerned citizen?
Yeah. When I was on the county board, I was known for fighting for the taxpayers, but I also was known I would speak with anybody, no matter what the position was. I'm not in favor of this. I think that it needs to be thought out a lot better. I haven't had a chance to open this yet, but I would like to share with everybody what folks that obviously are in favor of sewer and water have to say. I think it's only fair. Certificate of upgrade to, well, I'm afraid I can't read this. Upgrade to complete, it starts with A, it has HOLE on the end. This is the eloquent argument in favor of sewer put forward by some of our citizens. So I guess that maybe those of us that are opposed have some valid arguments.
I'm not saying you don't have a valid argument and a valid reason not to trust government in general. I agree. I understand. I'm just trying to answer your questions the best I can. And I'm sorry if sometimes I ramble, but I've got a whole lot of background that I want to try and get out in an hour. So, really, that's the point of the meeting, yes.
I have a question.
Me?
I have a question from this table.
Yes.
First thing, I think that the issue of bringing sewer and water into Richfield is an incredibly complex issue. No matter when it's considered, no matter what the requirement for it might be, it is not a simple task. Stand up.
Speak up.
Speak up. Can you all hear me okay?
No.
All right, so here's my question then. What I'm hearing is a common theme, and I know it's my issue here. Of all of the stuff we've talked about, what I'm hearing is a common theme, and it's my issue is, as a citizen of Richfield, I want to be able to vote and decide if sewer and water is coming in anywhere. And I'm going to ask right now for, just to make sure that I understand what you all think as well, because that's what I and other people are fighting for, just to give you the chance to vote. We're not trying to say it should or shouldn't come in. We just want you to have the right to vote. How many would like to be able to vote on whether or not sewer and water comes into Richfield? And this is the message that I think I've heard consistently throughout this evening. And this is the message for you, sir, to take back to the village board, that we're all pissed that we no longer have that right, or we weren't given that right when that public ordinance was put in place. We're mad. We want the right to vote and decide. Go ahead and do your research. Present to us the argument that here's the right thing to do for the village and why, and then let us vote and decide. This is our village. We deserve that right.
Just this 100 people?
No. This needs to be better. Not like they showing up here at the village hall, and then you're directed over here. You have no representation from our village people. To me, this is makeshift. You know?
I agree that it should be put.
And I think that if this is put to a public referendum, I think you people or leaders will be surprised that this is a drop in the bucket. It's the people that are opposed.
I completely understand.
If this does not get before the board to address, not on July 5th, and not in language, if you've looked at the Public Works ordinance, I would dare anyone to tell me they can read it in a half an hour and understand it. No way. We've spent hours going through that ordinance. It's very tricky. As far as I'm concerned, I'm sorry, it was deliberately crafted that way. To your point, I think it was deliberately timed that way. People who even went to the board and spoke about it clearly didn't understand what it is. And I would suggest that if all of you understood what it is, tell me if I'm wrong, that you would have voted against that ordinance. You need to make sure that you have expressed this to your village. You need to make sure that you've expressed it to your friends and neighbors. This is not a question about whether or not we should do it or not. This is only a question about whether or not you get the right to vote and decide. That's it.
Do you have a question?
Why would you deny us
Do you have a question?
You just heard it.
this? Why would you deny us this right?
The right to vote?
Yes.
Because I happen to believe that we should have representatives who make the decision.
I think there's a little bit of a miscommunication here.
Sure.
Let's clarify something.
Yes.
Last year at this time, did we have had the ability to vote on sewer and water anywhere?
No.
Okay, so it actually didn't take anything away from you.
Yeah, that's true. It's mischaracterization.
They just didn't give you as much as they promised.
Except the state law prohibits it.
Who's to say next time they won't say, have another ordinance to say a non-available anywhere?
So it's the rich people.
Everybody, that's the only way he's not by everybody doing a representative.
This table, let me.
One of the flyers was kind of misleading to that.
First of all, I'm very sensitive to the time. We have 5 minutes. I see that we have a bunch of tables that need to ask their questions.
Excuse me, we got somebody asking a question.
Okay, yeah. Let me just say, first of all, I think it's really great that you guys showed up. I'm very disappointed that others did not. This is a very important thing. What we need to do, Josh, before we leave, is to find out how we can solidify that we each get one equal vote, what the process is, what kind of a meeting can we get set. And your opinion is your opinion, or whatever. But as taxpayers and residents here, we need to do that tonight. We need to find out how we can have the next meeting. We can each count as one vote. It's locked and loaded, and then it's done. End of story. I want my vote to count, but I want everybody to know when the vote is. I don't care about the board members about this. They're too powerful. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. But I think that we are all educated. We're good people. We're here for a reason. It makes me angry. It makes me not proud of Richfield that this is going on. And I'm exhausted from this meeting. I just can't believe this. So I would like to know if you could tell us what the process is in a sentence or two to lock and load our vote, all being one vote, all equal, and then just be done with it. Because it's too exhausting. It really is. We just need to have it equal, and the board members are too powerful. We just need to have that breakaway from this issue. End of story.
The way to, so you're asking the way to eliminate that.
Yes, just how do we get together and legally tear this ordinance apart, make it the right way, and we each get one vote. My neighbors who don't come, and my family that doesn't come, we each need an equal vote, and they all need to be heard, so we have 3 minutes. So what do you want?
The short answer to the question is you petition the board to do an amendment to the ordinance. And you wouldn't want to, what you're saying is that you want a referendum, do I correct that understanding correctly?
I believe that's what I want.
So if that's the case, what you would do is modify the ordinance that exists now. You wouldn't want to take it off the books. So you would request an amendment to, you haven't talked to me to do it. You would request an amendment to the ordinance to change it so that it's not west of 175 instead of everywhere. That's essentially what you do.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure.
Josh, state law says that we can't do a petition and referendum to change that law.
State law says that we can't do a petition or referendum.
Statute 9.20.
To change what law?
That public works ordinance?
An existing ordinance.
You can petition to change the ordinance. The board has the authority to make the decision. That's the only thing.
I can talk to
I'll work with Kristen. If anybody else is interested in doing that, I'm happy to walk you through the process of what you need to do to get it in front of the board, to ask them to change it, and then go from there.
Sure. When is our next election for board members?
There are, I think there's 2 elected officials up, and it's in April. And you need to get papers in this January, the first week of January. It opens in December, the first part of December, and it closes somewhere around the first week of January. Some for a vacant, some for.
I'm Don Creeklaw, I'm the county board representative for District 24.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, Don Creeklaw, I'm the county board representative for District 24, so I'm supervisor. I've heard everything that you guys have said today. Realize, and I want to expound a little bit on what Josh said, this is a representative democracy that we have here. This is how a democratic representative democracy works. You have to come in and you have to be there, you have to talk, you have to talk to the representative. Every village board member has their phone number listed. If you have questions for a board member, you call them. If you have questions for a supervisor, you get on the horn and you tell me what you want me to do. If it's going to be if you want a referendum, this is what you have to do. It's not just come up here and just say, everybody's got to go, because there's one issue that is being addressed. You have to let your representative know. You've elected them to represent you. Even if you didn't vote for them, they're still your representative, and they still have to listen to what you have to say. So use your time to get to the board meetings. I mean, county board meetings, nobody attends it.
You can't talk about this, Don, at a board meeting.
We can't talk about it.
Well, if you want to talk during a board meeting, you call up, I don't know, Josh, who you want to talk to, get it on the agenda. You are limited to what you can talk to in a posted open meeting, but open meeting law says what's on the agenda is all that can be discussed.
Which is precisely why I have this meeting, because we haven't had this on agenda for a couple of years now.
So you need to call, get it on the agenda, then it's part of the discussion. Then you can talk about it at a meeting. But you can contact by email, you can contact by telephone. You can let your representative know exactly how you feel about everything. And if we don't tell them, they're representing you, they're trying to figure out what you want, and they're going to vote appropriately. So you need to tell them.
It's easier for them to snowball a single person over the phone than it is a group.
Okay,
Is it best for us then to set up some type of organization amongst the 100 that did show up, to start doing a door-to-door petition, that when we bring this in front of the board, that, let's say we have 3,000 people of your 11,500 that want this brought to their attention, will they listen?
I think there is an
organization that's
They're
on the
sitting
card.
here. One
You
here.
could have someone speak for a number of people that are in that petition. And then it would hold more weight. But,
Hey,
you know,
John,
you got to.
wouldn't this meeting be enough for you that we need to get onto the agenda for the next meeting?
Well,
That's
what Kristen just said.
Okay, why don't you just put on the agenda then?
All
We're asking you to do that.
I'll talk to Josh tomorrow, I'll make it first thing.
Okay.
Yeah, he makes the agendas out for the meeting. He was dictated, Jeffers gave you that authority to put it on.
I said
you should do it.
Right. Josh? Yes. Well, can I just finish the last thing? Sure. Do you guys have any other questions?
No, we have more. We are doing all this, the other side, straight from the other part.
We don't want to know any more than
Back there? Yes.
I just want to mention something that happened in my family. If the board would find a retail or industrial, whatever, that would be good for the village and presented it to us, we could vote on it because we thought it would be good for the village, and that would be great. But my daughter lives in the town of Milwaukee. She's on the outskirts, right on the border of Lisbon, the town of Lisbon, and Nothing Falls is just down the road. Town of Lisbon doesn't have sewer and water. And there are 8 residents where she lives that do not have sewer and water. The rest of Milwaukee does. Behind her house is a large development that's being worked on right now. They're planning on getting it ready to put lots up for sale pretty soon. And they need sewer and water. So they went to a sewer and water meeting, and they thought, well, if sewer and water comes, it might cost us about $10,000 because they have about 80 feet along the road, and their lot goes way back a ways. acre and a half or two. Well, they found out that their share would be 40,000. And right now, they have a flow fee that they pay, and they're not connected to nothing. So if the subdivision needs the water and it has to come by your house, it's gonna cost them a lot more than what they thought. And they have no choice at this time, they don't know what's gonna happen. But they're working on a subdivision, so all depends on how they get the water to them. But that's what they were told at the meeting. So, if sewer and water goes in anywhere, in the village, east side, or wherever, we better hope it's for a good reason, because everybody might have to share a little bit of the cost somehow. If you don't mind your taxes going up a little bit, and like maybe a Wendy's will come in or a Taco Bell or something, hopefully something more beneficial. But just keep it in mind. That's all I have to say.
Yes, sir.
Kind of on what he was talking about, if the tax rate is going to go up, if we don't put business in, how much is it going to go up if we put sewer in?
The short answer is that sewer isn't tied to your taxes typically. It's tied to fees and a separate utility or a district.
Well, we've got to pay
So it
it.
doesn't, no, not necessarily. I don't know how it works in Lisbon, but.
It's a separate line item. Have to pay.
Pardon
You have to
me?
pay your laterals. In Pewaukee, what happened was it was $42,000.
When you got hooked up.
Increased my tax bill by $4,200 on top of my $4,000.
You got special assessed to hook up.
You have no choice.
But I
Once
think,
this
I think
goes
he's,
through, you're done.
I think he's talking about what happens if everybody else is charged for what happens east of 175, am I right?
Just east, everywhere.
No, I understand, but if it went in east of 175, are you saying what happens to everybody else? To your tax
That'd
bill?
be interesting also, but I want to know how much is going to go up. How much is our tax rate? You're talking about the mill rate all the time. How much is our mill rate going to go up? Or fees, if you want to put it that way.
Sure. Your taxes typically don't, but your fees, it all depends on where it's going and how many people are getting it. Those numbers, I'm sure, are 100% correct. Mr. Platt is probably right. Not probably, I'm sure he is.
I've been through, like the gentleman over there mentioned about his daughter. I was firsthand in that whole situation in Pewaukee 10 years ago. And the propaganda what I'm getting here is this east and west is just, it's not happening.
Can I just ask one question? And since this is a sincere question, because, so, let's say east of 175, we don't, I'll get right to it, sorry. Are you willing to pay a little bit more on your tax?
No.
Your tax, just like, can I finish the question? Are you willing to pay a little bit more on your tax bill to prevent, in order to ensure that sewer and water does not come to village?
It doesn't ensure.
I would pay more on my taxes if I could have my vote.
Can I just finish? Can I just finish?
How is it ensured that it won't come in?
Great.
Already, you could have referendum without a vote, and you said you can put on anytime you want.
Can I just finish my statement? How does it happen? If we do not allow business development, that's what I'm hearing this evening, okay? We don't allow business development, and whatever. We know that just having the small local government that we have, that we have a certain cost, and that cost rises. And we know that we aren't funding our roads enough. We fund about 1/3 of the roads we need to rebuild every year, okay? So in other words, we need about another $800,000 every year. We only have a $3.6 million budget total.
How much is the surplus?
Yeah.
We have about $1.8 million.
1.8. We were up to 2.4 last year.
No, well, we have some money in a rainy day reserve, like cash flow fund. That makes up the difference. And then there's all kinds of projects that lay out the 1.8. that I talked about. Yes.
Why doesn't that come out of the regular yearly budget?
Because our taxes don't support that. We save every year enough to buy a truck. We have, for example, here's a great example. We have 13 snowball trucks. A snowball truck costs between $150,000 and $200,000. We don't borrow for that. We pay cash.
And you budget for it every year.
We save for it every year. So when we save, it goes into the 1.8 million. That's how over time that accumulates.
800,000 for.
We have 800,000 for cash flow, because the way that taxes work, you all pay your taxes in January, so we have a lot of money then, December and January, and then it drops off in the summer until we get the tax payment in July, and then it drops off again until we get back to December, okay? So my question is relevant because if you don't have anything leveraging down, if you don't have a big park like in Pewaukee along 94, leveraging down your tax mill rate, then you have no way of closing that $800,000 gap to fund your roads. Okay.
Are you buying?
But correct me if I'm wrong, the tax rate for Cabela's, the tax rate for Reflections, is that in fact per thousand the same as it is for us homeowners?
Yes.
Identical?
Yes.
Okay.
And they still don't collect enough revenue.
No, I'm just.
It cost them $30,000 to take that subdivision over last year. And they didn't do the maintenance on it, and they don't collect that.
So it's a sincere question. I mean, if you're really willing to make that decision, and that's why you need to come to that meeting on the 29th, because to this gentleman's point in the back, that what you decide to go in that corner of the village is going to answer the question of how much you want your taxes to fluctuate over time. Because we can't fund our roads now, and the governor and the legislature put a cap on the tax levy, right? And they said we can't raise the tax levy at all without a referendum. Okay, so there is no flexibility. The only way for us to change that is to do new development. That's the only way it changes. And if we don't, we could have a referendum and raise your taxes. You would be voting to raise your own taxes. That's why I asked the question.
When was the last year that the village of Richfield spent all of the money that were collected in revenue and allocated in its budget? A long time.
But Mike, I just answered this gentleman's question, answers what your allegation is. And that is, we put money away for projects every year and equipment.
You can't spend this both
ways. Who doesn't save money for a home payment or, a home purchase or a vehicle purchase or something like that?
Last time
is there anybody here who doesn't, can I speak?
No. Last time I looked at the village data, you had $3.2 million in the reserve fund. 3.2. Your budget is 3.6. Every year you put about $300,000 into that reserve fund, and yet you tell us that we don't have enough money to fix our roads.
Right.
Why don't you use the money that you've already allocated in the budget each and every year to fix the roads?
Wait,
great question.
The proper way to ask the question that you're asking it is, Josh, how much is an undesignated funds?
About $800,000.
Only 800,000?
Yeah, which is about 3 months. So if we lost money if a tornado came through, we'd have enough money to get us through for about 3 months. And to answer your question, because you've been asking it for 4 years. Mike and I have had lunch many times, and you should. We fund all of our projects, any future building that we do with cash. We try to save for it and pay. Why? Because we don't want debt.
What building are we involved with right now?
We're saving at this point to eventually do a remodel of the existing building built in the 60s.
Nothing wrong with it. What's wrong with it?
Nothing, but we're saving for the day when it needs to be updated.
So here we are having a meeting at the church, I don't understand.
Exactly.
Well, but I'm sorry, communications from you guys as leaders, and you're supposed to be our leaders that we vote for, and the ones that are gonna ultimately make this decision without us having to vote in it. It just does not sit well with me.
I understand. I understand.
$50,000 after all the other.
If they really cared, why didn't they come to hear this? I understand you're saying that they're, in politics or whatever. Maybe they could have just came to listen here when we had the opportunity to, present our questions. It sounds like they don't care if they don't even come.
That's not the case, but I appreciate your point. Thank you.
Yeah, Josh, it sounds like this was an informational meeting.
It was.
To get people's opinions, let them know what the situation is. So it sounds like if we wanted to exchange, we would need to get on the agenda of the board.
Right.
And maybe a group like this shows up again and make it known that we would like that ordinance change to include the whole town for a referendum for sewer and water. Is that right? Is that the That's the way to take care of that.
And I think we're actually gonna be doing it.
And what would be a date, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I know people are leaving. What would be a date before the 29th that people should be in attendance for any kind of other meetings up until the 29th, Michelle?
There's a village board meeting on the third Thursday, 2 weeks from today.
Would that be the time for the agenda thing might be discussed? Just because they're leaving?
It could be.
Okay, it could be, okay. That's all I'm gonna.
I would say, I like to say November, so we don't have a, for lack of a better term, half-ass job of promoting it.
I didn't use those words. I'm sorry.
No,
That's the way I felt here, shifted from where we were directed to here. I'm sorry. That's disappointing.
I'm agreeing with you.
Josh,
I'm agreeing.
2 months ago, there was a board meeting that had around 150, 200 people that were there, and they were all told to leave, nothing about sewer and water was going to be talked about, but there was water that was going to be talked about, and everybody stuck around, and because of that, the board did change its ordinance, subdivision ordinance for everything west of 175. But during that meeting, every board member stated, none of us want to see any sewer and water in the village of Richfield. None of us, not one person up here wants that. Why can't they put their pen where their mouth is and let us know?
Yes.
That's what they all said.
Yes.
I think that the disappointment to me is that when the board members were in their debate and they were talking about sewer and water, they all stated that sewer and water wasn't coming to Richfield. And then, had somebody not found the little blip in there that says east of 175, that is the only way we ever figured out we lost, or we no longer have the right to a referendum. So, if the board doesn't want it, and they state when they're trying to become board members that they don't want it, yet they push through something on a holiday weekend with the little thing about east of 175, the trust is broken.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Josh?
50 years in Masonry and Smith, and I moved about 5 counties. In this movement of doing this work, I found a couple communities, when the land went from agricultural to resident, they put on deposit with the village board for municipal improvements.
Yeah.
How much do you have?
Probably around $190,000. They go to 2 things. You're talking about impact fees. When a new home is built in Richfield, those people who come in have to make a contribution to that designated or reserve fund in order to fund things that we already have. Otherwise, they're coming and taking benefit for what you've already paid for. So they put money into that, and it goes towards. Right now, the fire company is raising their roof over at their building. Eventually, they're going to be building another facility somewhere. That's what those dollars go to offset the cost of their new home requiring fire service or ambulance service. And the same is true with the park system. We have a similar charge for the same type of thing. We bought a new park. We charge people as they come in to pay that off. Yes.
Josh, my husband and I have only been here for 4 years in Richfield, and there is something I'm going to tell you. This meeting to me is disturbing. It's just disturbing to watch this even happen. I think the mistrust of the board is enormous here, and I hope you're going to take that back to them. There's a definite, this isn't just us. And when we talk to our neighbors, it is a big deal in Richfield, not just in the board. I hope that you go back to that and understand that that's an issue with everybody. Or at least a good portion of it. And another thing I'd like to do is thank you for having this meeting, because I'm sure it's quite uncomfortable.
And Josh, as far as having it on the agenda for November,
yes.
What are we doing Thursday, November?
Pardon me?
Thanksgiving, deer hunting, okay? Just like 4th of July.
Josh, I got one question, and it's sort of related to the 29th about this comprehensive. The last time we had this, Toby Cotter was here, and then we ended up with a consultant group that came in to run this.
Yes.
Are we going to have the same thing again?
Not quite the same setup.
The reason I'm asking that question is because the last time, we all wanted to keep our country way of life out here, we wanted to stay the way it was, we didn't want anything to change.
Right.
Well, lo and behold, what happened? This consulting group came in and they sort of turned the figures around the way, in my opinion, they wanted it to look for it.
Sure.
Richfield, I'm going to say the officials again, it's what they wanted.
Well, and I think...
So are we going to have a real input? Or are we going to be just a bunch of us again?
But I think, I read through the minutes of that, and I got, like you said, Toby was here, I wasn't here, but I heard, what I saw was a discussion on both ends of that spectrum. And the problem is, we get, in our survey that the gentleman in the back talked about, overwhelmingly people say, leave it the way it is, don't change anything. And I think for the most part we agree. The trouble is, every farm field that's out there, those farmers have a right that we can't refuse to develop that property.
So do we with 10 acres, where you cut us off and be able to divide that into 2 parcels. You did that to us, thank you, that was our retirement. We have 10 acres, but we're not allowed to divide that into 2 5-acre lots.
Well, I thought they allowed one, he was just saying they got
Because
one.
they don't have one on the side.
How long ago that?
A number of years ago, but we were never advised as individual citizens, and we have been to the village and we've talked with board members, and they say, oh, you can apply for a variance, you can spend your $500, but you're not going to get one, and we get to keep the $500.
I'd like to talk to you if time.
If you're willing to listen, we'd like to hear that.
That's why I have it. So to address, finish my statement. The trouble is we can't require farmers to leave it farm. They sell it to the developer.
No, but you can affect how big a lots they can put on there.
We can affect the size of the lot. We can affect the size of the lot.
Absolutely.
And everywhere in
That's how
Richfield we
you
do.
restrict it.
That's true, to a point. But as a village, we have certain restrictions that we have to follow. Okay.
Or maybe we can change some restrictions to a larger size
to
lot.
become a
For
village.
new development.
Right, 1.5 acres, with an 1.5 acres reserved on that subdivision.
How about 3 acres?
That is 3 acres.
No, that's each.
No,
Or 5.
3 with another 3?
Yeah.
The reason they did it 1.5 acres with an 1.5 acres reserved on the subdivision was to come up with a total of 3. So that, to answer the question, we can't stop development is the answer. The question is, to this gentleman's point again, we've got to be at that meeting to say what kind of development you need. Because it can't stay the way it is, exactly. But what...
And to his point, they didn't listen to him anyway. So.
I've got another question. You talked about the impact fees.
Yeah.
And you said that developments and reflections, they didn't get any tax breaks or anything in order to build.
Right.
Can you tell us how much they paid in impact fees?
I could go back and tell it, I don't have...
I can tell you what developments paid. That's right. So now you're...
Well, no,
They lost us some money.
the impact fees, I know are being charged in reflections for facts. I've seen the checks come through. I wasn't here when Cabela's came, but I'd be happy to look into that.
I just, the distrust is just sitting in here, it hurt me even more. And I'm seeing from the previous community, that's why I came to Richfield. I wanted to avoid it. Right back in.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Todd, for holding us.